When Love Transcends, a peasant woman's incredible journey as she discovers her disabled husband's hidden talent. Emma stood in the bright glow of dawn, heart aching as she watched the sun stretch its golden arms over the fields. The air was thick with the smell of rich earth, promising yet another long day on the farm. At 32, her body bore the marks of hard work. Sun-kissed cheeks, calloused hands, and a spirit that clung fiercely to hope amidst despair. But the shadow of war now loomed over her home. Mike, her husband, had returned from combat, a shell of the man he once was. Physically present, yes, yet emotionally he was miles away, lost in battles that echoed in silence. Emma clenched her fists as she thought of Jake, their bright-eyed son who deserved so much more than what fate had dealt them. She had always planned a bright future for him filled with laughter and love, but now every giggle felt like a whispered taunt echoing through vacant spaces of unfulfilled dreams. Dinner table conversations had morphed into quiet meals, where each clink of cutlery seemed to slice deeper into her heart, revealing scars of a different kind. Whispers of misfortune traced through the small-town streets, casting a pall of judgment upon them. Mountainous bills loomed over the farmhouse, a ticking clock of financial despair while the once bustling fields turned eerily quiet. "I have to be strong for Mike, for Jake," she muttered under her breath, only to feel the heavy weariness pulling her down. The day she received an offer from a local businessman felt like a punch to the gut. Selling their homestead, a place that held generations of memories, would ensure Jake's safety, yet it felt like a betrayal against every loving piece of earth that cradled her family history. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as despair wrapped around her like a blanket, a glimmer of hope shone through when she stumbled upon Mike's old sketches tucked away beneath the bed. His lines conveyed emotions buried deep within artistry, hidden beneath layers of grief. It was a world of color and creativity he had long forgotten. Yet here, Emma witnessed the man she had married emerge from the shadows. "You can't hide this from the world," she urged him, her voice barely a whisper of a desperate plea. But as they prepared for an exhibition, Emma felt angst wash over her. The community's eyes, once friendly, now seemed to judge with pity. Could they accept Mike's art? Or would it be overshadowed by the stigma of his disability? They stood on the precipice together, not just as husband and wife, but as two souls intertwined in a shared struggle, a battle against despair and societal judgment. As the day of the exhibition loomed closer, Emma's heart raced. Could love really transcend societal standards? Would the town's whispers quiet into applause, or drown them in awkward silence? It was an uncertain future, but one thing was clear. The clock ticked on, and the weight of their love would either soar or crumble beneath the dark clouds of fear. Would Mike's artistry become their salvation, or would it shatter their fragile world once more? A surge of hope mixed with anxiety coursed through her veins. What lay ahead could change their lives forever. Emma's hands trembled as they hung by her sides. The kitchen felt stagnant, a cauldron of mixed emotions simmering just beneath the surface. She glanced up at the wall clock, the seconds ticking away, loud and mocking. They had prepared for the exhibition, but she couldn't shake the feeling that they were racing against time. "Mom!" Jake's cheerful voice pierced through her thoughts, and for a moment, Emma closed her eyes, letting the sound wrap around her like a warm hug. He burst into the room, his eyes bright as he waved a drawing he had made, a tiny crayon masterpiece depicting the family, just as they were now. It was simple, so utterly innocent. Her heart squeezed tight. "Look," he beamed, holding it up proudly. "I drew us. You, me, and Dad." The warmth in his gaze reminded her of what truly mattered. "It's beautiful, honey," she replied, forcing a smile to match his. But inside, uncertainty twisted like a knot. Jake deserved so much more than the weight of their struggles. As she sat cross-legged on the kitchen floor with him, a soft smile slowly emerged, even as silent tension loomed. She watched Jake color, his tiny tongue poking through his lips in concentration. "Do you think Dad will like it?" he asked suddenly, his sweet innocence almost too much to bear. "A whole lot," she said, swallowing the lump in her throat. You should show him. Jake nodded eagerly, but she could see a shadow of uncertainty flitting across his face. Will he be okay? The question hung in the air, unspoken and jagged, as if it carried all their doubts. He's working on it, sweetheart, just like we are, Emma murmured, her own heart battling the truths that lay heavy in the air. Later that afternoon, Emma found Mike in his makeshift studio, a small corner of the barn cluttered with canvases, brushes, and the hints of paint that reflected his past. The space was chaotic yet breathtaking, filled with what was once his passion. She approached slowly, feeling the weight of unaddressed fears settling over her shoulders. Hey love, Emma said softly, and Mike turned to face her, the gaze from those familiar, haunted eyes sending small chills up her spine. I've been thinking, he started, his voice a muted whisper, about the exhibition. If it's worth it. Her heart sank. It's more than worth it. You have a gift, Mike. People need to see it. But what if they don't understand? What if my art is just not enough? His words stumbled out, as if they were trapped in his throat, wrapped in layers of doubt. She moved closer, a determination welling up inside her. You're so much more than your struggles. Your art, it speaks when your words cannot. It was true. In that moment she realized what she wanted most was for Mike to feel that love again. The same way he had when they first met. We can do this together, she added, the softness of her voice mingling with firmness. He met her gaze, a flicker of hope glimmering in his stormy eyes. But what if we fail? What if we don't? She countered, her heart pounding with tenacity. We will stand together hand in hand. Isn't that enough? Mike sighed, his shoulders releasing some tension. The uncertainty still lingered. But so did a spark of something they both desperately needed: courage. As night fell, Emma tucked Jake into bed, gazing at his peaceful face as he drifted off, blissfully unaware of the storm around them. Her heart ached at the weight of what lay ahead, the exhibition looming like a monstrous tidal wave. Their deepest fears danced too close for comfort, but she vowed, with every ounce of strength left in her, to push through. The next morning, a heavy fog rolled in. She sat beside Mike in the car, the gallery looming in the distance. What if the townsfolk wouldn't show? What if Mike's art was ridiculed? The thoughts bubbled in her mind like boiling water ready to spill over. But there was a flicker within, urging her on. They stepped out, nerves tightening in their chests. We've come this far, she whispered, more to herself than to him. Yeah, he muttered. The doors of the gallery creaked open, revealing a world of possibilities. But just as they entered, something unexpected stopped them cold. A familiar face from their past stepped forward, and Emma froze. Would history repeat itself, or had they truly come to a point of no return? Emma's heart raced as she recognized the face that had haunted their past, a face that brought back memories better left buried. It was Julia, Mike's first love, a ghost from a life that seemed so distant now. Her presence was like a jolt, pulling Emma back to a time when their lives had been simpler, and love had felt unshakable. Mike, Julia said, her voice silky but edged with an anxiety that sliced through the air. I didn't know you were back in town. Mike stood frozen beside Emma, a mix of confusion and resentment flickering across his features. It was evident he was grappling with the memories flooding back. Emma could almost feel the tension vibrating between them, a tangled web of the past they had tried so hard to escape. Julia, he replied, his voice low. It's been a while. The silence that followed was thick, laden with unspoken words and unfinished business. Emma's stomach churned as she felt like the interloper in a moment that belonged to them. Jake, oblivious to the turmoil, darted forward, showing off his crayon drawing with unbridled excitement. Look what I made. It's us, he chirped, his innocence cutting through the tension like a knife. Julia's expression softened, though it was tinged with a hint of sadness. Yes, talented, Mike. Just like his father. Her eyes flickered to Emma, and Emma sensed a quiet judgment in that gaze. Thanks, Emma replied, squeezing Jake's shoulder to ground herself. We're all figuring things out. The words felt inadequate, like trying to fill a vast emptiness with pebbles. Mike turned to Emma, his expression uncertain. Why are you here, Julia? I came to see the exhibition, she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. I heard it was important to you. Emma's heart dropped. Important? The word echoed, mocking their struggle. As Julia stared back at Mike, Emma felt the ground slipping beneath her. Yeah, Mike said, each word heavy with restraint. What brings you back to town after all this time? Family reasons. It's complicated, Julia replied, her gaze darting between them. Jake tugged at Emma's sleeve. Mom, can we show Dad the other pictures I drew? Of course, sweetheart, Emma said, hoping to pull Jake's attention away from the awkward reunion. She led him a few steps away, her heart pounding as the reality of their situation sank in. Is everything okay? Jake asked, his voice small. Oh honey, it will be, she said, smiling down at him, though doubt crept back in. As Mike and Julia spoke in hushed tones, Emma could sense the wall between them building higher. It was a barrier of unspoken words, of what-ifs and regrets. Did Mike still have feelings for her? Would this one encounter unravel everything they had fought for? Time stretched as she watched them, the laughter shared in the past now woven with the whispers of their reality. Suddenly, Julia leaned closer, whispering something that made Mike's body tense. Emma felt a shiver race down her spine. What did she say? Emma thought, caught in a whirlwind of anxiety. Jake looked up, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Mom, he whispered. I'm here, buddy, she whispered back, cupping his face in her hands. Let us just focus on you and your art for now. But just then Mike turned, his face pale, as if he had seen a ghost. Julia just told me something, he said slowly, the weight of the words hanging in the air like a fog. Emma held her breath, her heart caught in her throat. What could possibly be so significant? What had the woman from his past revealed? Whatever it is, we can face it together, she murmured. Even as the uncertainty crept back in, she could sense that their future hinged on what unfolded next. But the look in Mike's eyes was one she'd never expected, a mix of fear and something else entirely. And that's when Emma realized the past might not be as dead as they thought. Mike's voice cut through the silence, shaking Emma to her core. Julia just told me she's pregnant. The words hung heavily in the air, thick with disbelief and a blend of emotions that threatened to swallow Emma whole. It felt like time stalled, the world around them fading into a blur as she processed what had just been said. Pregnant? The words stumbled from her lips. She couldn't understand how something so profound, so life-altering, could emerge from this ephemeral encounter. Julia's eyes flickered with vulnerability as Mike turned to face Emma, uncertainty etched across his features. That's why she came back. Emma's heart raced, each beat pounding out wild questions in her mind. Jake's innocent laughter faded into the background. She felt like a marionette with her strings cut, her world twisting uncontrollably. It's not what you think, Julia jumped in, her voice shaking. I didn't plan this. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, I swear. Mike stepped closer to Julia, his instincts swirling around him like angry bees. You think this is easy? You show up out of the blue and drop this on us. You don't get to just waltz in here with a bombshell and expect everything to be fine. Emma felt every word like a kick in her gut. Among the confusion, a shard of anger pierced through. Julia had become the embodiment of everything she feared. A naive spark igniting a flame that threatened to engulf their carefully constructed life. Mom, what's wrong? Jake's tiny voice broke through, bringing Emma crashing back down to reality. She turned to him, feeling the weight of his innocent gaze, searching for an answer, a sense of safety. Nothing's wrong, love, she said, forcing a smile as she knelt down, trying to exhibit calm. We're just talking. But the words felt hollow, an inadequate bandage over a festering wound. She felt lost within the storm brewing just beyond her control. Mike, we can sort this out, Emma decided, her voice quieter now, but laced with a muted strength. We've built something together. We can't let her past define us. Just give us a moment. He hesitated, his eyes darting back to Julia. The tension between them unfolded in heavy layers. Mike shifted his gaze to Emma, searching for solace, but their connection felt stretched and fragile, a taut wire ready to snap. What if I can't? He finally whispered, the confession breaking Emma's heart anew. Then it struck her like a bolt of lightning. What if you want to? The question crackled in the air, charged with fear and unanswered desire. I don't want to, Mike replied sharply, though his voice trembled. The fight within him masked deeper vulnerability. Suddenly, Julia stepped forward. I didn't come here to disrupt your lives. Her voice softened, almost pleading. I had hoped I didn't know how you'd react. Emma felt the weight of her admission, the fear of truth hanging in the balance. But the pain threaded through the moment left her feeling raw. Let us take this one step at a time. Emma's heart raced, but she pressed on, knowing they had to confront this together. You need to choose, Mike. What do you want? The silence that followed was agonizing. Time stretched into infinity as the question hung between them, fragile and fraught with possibility. And just when Emma thought they could figure it out, Mike grabbed a piece of paper from his pocket. If I told you this would make things clearer, would you listen? Emma nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. What was he going to reveal that could change everything? But just as he unfolded the paper, a loud crash erupted from behind them. Jake had knocked over a stand, sending crayons sprawling everywhere. Mom! He exclaimed wide-eyed. Emma scrambled to him, her heart racing anew, as she felt the ground shift beneath her. Would chaos swallow them whole, or would they find clarity in the storm? She looked back at Mike, dread settling over her like a heavy cloak. What if this moment spiraled beyond recovery? Everything's fine, sweetheart, she asserted, but doubt lingered at the edge of her voice. What was going to happen next? Would the pieces of their lives fall apart or somehow stitch together? In that instant, uncertain tides churned within her, setting the stage for what was to come. Emma knelt beside Jake, heart racing and mind swirling. The crayons scattered across the floor like thoughts unbridled by control. She forced a smile, ruffling Jake's hair as he bent down to help gather them. Yet, her heart was still caught in a storm of emotions, battling the uncertainty that hung like a dark cloud above them. Maybe we should all sit down for a bit, Emma suggested, her voice shaking just enough for Mike to catch it. She glanced up, searching his face for some sign of reassurance. Instead, his eyes were clouded, shifting between guilt and a raging storm she couldn't quite grasp. Sit down? Mike echoed, the bitterness sharp in his tone. How can we sit down? Do you think that will fix anything? Julia just dropped a life-altering news, and you expect me to just sit? Mike, please, Emma urged, trying to hold on to the fragile thread of their conversation. Let us figure this out together. Yelling and blaming won't help us. She took a breath, hoping to find strength in the urgency of the moment. Jake looked up at both of them, confusion etching his little brow. Is this about the baby? Are we getting a baby? He asked, his innocent curiosity suddenly stealing the air from Emma's lungs. Not right now, sweetheart, Emma replied quickly, her instincts kicking in to protect him from the turmoil swirling around them. This is complicated. Mike stared hard at Julia, his face locked in a neutral expression, but she could see the small flickers of distress curling at the corners of his lips. I didn't ask for this either, Julia murmured, a hint of vulnerability breaking through her bravado. I just needed, her voice faltered, and she took a step back, glancing at Jake and then at Emma. I needed you to know. Know what? Emma pressed, her urges mixing with a fierce protectiveness. That you're expecting, and just expect everything to be fine? You can't drop this type of news and assume it will all be okay. It doesn't work that way. I didn't mean to disrupt your lives, Julia repeated softly, her grip on the words trembling. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought I could handle it alone. Emma felt a mix of sympathy and resentment. She wanted to yell at Julia for the fear she was instilling in their family, but also felt a twinge of compassion. You've been alone for so long, but you should have thought about us too, Julia, Emma finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake, still on the floor, seemed oblivious to the unsaid tension, hurriedly picking up crayons and lining them up by color as if that would bring harmony back into the room. Emma's heart ached for him. Mike, she tried again, you have to decide what this means for us. For our family. This isn't just about you anymore. His eyes met hers, and for a split second, the layers of his internal conflict peeled back. I know that, Emma. But what if he trailed off, looking back at Julia? What if this changes everything? And there it was, the question that lingered, pressing against every secret and doubt. Emma couldn't hold back the tears that brimmed in her eyes, but she blinked them away, refusing to let despair take over. Change is scary, Emma said, her voice steadying, but it can also bring clarity. What if we try to find a way forward? Not just for the baby but for us? For our family? Mike sighed deeply, turning his gaze to the floor, lost in thought. You're asking me to make a choice when everything is swirling around me. I don't know if I can. A tense silence fell over them, only broken by Jake, who chirped, Can we have ice cream later? That'll make everything better. The whimsical suggestion swayed the atmosphere slightly, putting a thin smile on Emma's face, but it was fleeting. Mike's eyes flickered back to her, now more unsure than ever. Just as Emma was about to speak again, the sound of her phone vibrating on the table caught everyone's attention. She glanced down, seeing a text notification flash, the name pulling her focus away from the rattling emotions in the room. It was from her mother. Suddenly, a new wave of anxiety washed over Emma. This moment might unlock everything they were facing or unravel it completely. What news could her mother possibly have? What is it? Mike asked when he saw the change in her expression. Her heart raced once more, echoing the chaos around them. I need to see what this is, Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. The implications of the text loomed large, and she felt the weight of countless questions pressing against her. Would this new information bring clarity, or would it add even more chaos to their already disarrayed lives? She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. With one last glance at Mike and Julia, the uncertainty swirled around them, but Emma knew one thing: change was inevitable, and it was coming fast. Emma's fingers trembled as she picked up the phone, careful not to let the doubt seep into her mind. Her mother's name illuminated the screen, but it also shadowed her thoughts. She could feel Mike's eyes on her, heavy with unsaid words and tension, while Julia stood there, a fragile figure caught in the maelstrom of their lives. Sucking in a deep breath, she opened the message. The words struck like lightning. I'm in town. We need to talk. It's important. A cold wave washed over her, pushing aside all thoughts of the baby, swirling emotions and impending decisions. My mom is here, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, the weight of the statement hanging thick in the air. What do you mean she's here? Mike snapped. The harshness in his voice revealed the surge of anxiety rising to the surface. Just that. She's in town. Apparently she wants to talk, Emma replied, a knot forming in her stomach. About what? More family drama? Mike scoffed, running a hand over his hair as if trying to comb away the chaos that surrounded them. Mike. Emma's frustration burst through her usually calm demeanor. This is different. I can feel it. She wouldn't come unless it was important. Jake, sensing the tension again, looked between them with wide eyes. Can I go play outside? He asked, his small voice breaking through the thick silence. Emma nodded quickly, eager to shield him from the storm. Yes, sweetheart. Go ahead. Jake bounded out the door, relief washing over Emma as the door clicked shut behind him. Turning back to Mike and Julia, she faced the reality that landed heavily on her chest. I think she might know something about Julia. Or about us. Mike's gaze darkened. How is that supposed to help us? We're already dealing with enough. Because Emma argued, stepping closer, if she knows something it could change everything. Maybe it could help us figure out what to do. Or it could just complicate things further, Mike countered, crossing his arms and shifting his weight as if he were trying to physically barricade himself from the emotional onslaught. You don't really believe that? Emma felt the fire ignite in her bones. We can't sidestep this. Sunday dinners were about connection, and here we are. We can't ignore what's happening inside us. Julia stood quietly, the anxiety seeping through her body. Do you want me to leave? She asked, her voice trembling. No, Emma declared, more aggressively than intended. We all need to work together. You're part of this too, whether we like it or not. Part of what? Julia's voice cracked. You think I want to be here, in this mess? I didn't plan this. Mike sighed heavily, the weight of the situation pulling at his features. Okay, let us stay focused. If Emma's mom has information, then we should hear what she has to say. But I'm warning both of you, if this makes things worse, I'm going to do what? Emma pressed, her heart hammering. Bolt? Turn away. Enough. Mike's voice cut like glass, halting their back and forth. We need to stop arguing. Let us wait until your mom gets here. We'll figure this out together. Silence sat heavily again, the air thick with unsaid worries. Emma took a step back, running her hands through her hair. The moment her mom walked through the door could either be a lifeline or the end of their fragile world. Suddenly, the door creaked open. Emma's heart leaped into her throat as they turned to see her mother sweep into the room. Face serious, eyes scanning the faces before her. Emma, her mother began, hesitating as she locked onto the tension in the room. We need to talk about Julia. There's something you all deserve to know. Emma felt the ground shift beneath her. What was about to be uncovered? And how would it further impact the fragile threads binding them together? Emma's breath caught in her throat as she met her mother's gaze. Each second stretched into eternity, the room heavy with unanswered questions. Was this really where they would find the answers? Or were they only stepping into deeper shadows? "Mom, what is it?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She felt a surge of urgency ripple through her. "What do you know about Julia?" Her mother's eyes darted over to Julia, who was still standing stiffly against the wall, anxiety radiating off her like heat from a furnace. I don't want to alarm you, but I've seen some things. Things that just don't add up," her mother stammered, her voice cracking slightly as she tried to find the right words. Mike shifted uncomfortably, arms crossed tightly. "What does that mean? Does it have anything to do with us? Just say it." "Emma," her mother continued, determination lacing her tone, "I've done some digging. Julia, she's tied to a situation I thought was long behind us. There are reasons your father and I didn't tell you." Shocked silence enveloped the room. Emma felt as if the walls were closing in. "What do you mean?" Julia demanded, her voice shaky yet demanding, as if she could restrain the collision of emotions swirling around them. "Before you were born, there was a family near us. A young couple. They experienced troubles similar to what I gather is happening now," Emma's mother explained. "Their child had serious health issues. I didn't know it then, but they were close to your family." "Are you saying Julia is connected to them?" Emma interrupted, longing for clarity as the storm inside her grew. "Yes," her mother said flatly, the weight of truth heavy in the air. "But I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe history could be repeating itself." "Repeating itself?" Mike muttered, glancing at Emma with wild eyes. "What are you saying?" Her mother sighed, trying to steady herself. "Julia, where are you from? What do you know of your past?" Julia's eyes widened, the color draining from her face as memories seemed to flicker behind her eyes. "I've told you all I can. My childhood is blurred. I was taken from my real home. I don't know what you want from me," she exclaimed, emotion spilling over, fueled by confusion and fear. "What if I told you you might not have been taken but given up?" Emma's mother countered, eyes full of a hard truth. "What if there's more than one person who has been split from their family?" Emma felt her heart race, a maze of betrayal, hurt, and sorrow swirling within her. The implications were staggering. Julia's need for connection suddenly felt heavier. "Why are you being cryptic?" Mike interjected, battling his own pent-up rage. "Just tell us what to do." "Listen," Emma's mother urged, her tone soft yet sharp. "The truth might change everything. Julia, if you have family out there, if they want to find you, I can't do this." Julia yelled, the sound shattering the tension, tears spilling over. "I can't think about family. I can't be someone's burden again." In that moment, Emma stepped closer, her heart aching for the girl who felt lost. "You're not a burden. You are loved, no matter what this means. We are in this together." Mike's expression softened, caught between the fierce need to protect and a desperate desire to understand. "What happens next?" he asked, wearing a mask of uncertainty. Emma's mother hesitated, the weight of her next words visible. "We need to find the answers. We need to seek the truth of your past, Julia. Only then can we decide what to do," she replied. A glimmer of hope mingling with fear as Emma looked around the room. A strange sense of anticipation filled the air. Could they navigate these murky waters into the light? What twists awaited them in the relentless journey ahead? And just as the first ray of clarity seemed to break through the clouds, a sudden knock echoed from the door again. Who else could be arriving, and what could they possibly add to this tangled web of uncertainty? Emma's heart pounded like a drum as she stepped toward the door, the knock reverberating in her chest. The air around them was thick with expectation, and she could feel the tension sliding into every corner of the room. As she reached for the doorknob, she glanced back at her mother and Mike, their faces tight with apprehension. "Should I open it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, uncertain of what lay beyond. "Go ahead," Mike urged, his hands now trembling with nervous energy. "We'll figure it out. We have to." Taking a deep breath, Emma turned the knob and pulled open the door. A chill swept in and outside stood a tall figure wrapped in a heavy coat, their breath visible in the cool evening air. Emma's heart sank. She knew those eyes. "Carly!" Emma exclaimed, stepping back in surprise. Carly, a friend from school, stood there, her expression a swirl of emotions: fear, determination, and something else Emma couldn't place. I had to come," she said urgently, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "I overheard something. I thought you should know." "Overheard what?" Mike demanded, his protective instincts kicking in. "What's going on?" Carly stepped inside, eyes darting around like a trapped bird. "I was at the diner earlier, and I overheard a conversation," she said. "Some people were talking about Julia. They were saying there's something deeper, something dangerous." "Dangerous? What do you mean?" Emma asked, her pulse quickening. "Somebody involved in the situation. Someone who isn't just looking for answers," Carly replied, her voice dropping to a whisper, as if admitting a secret. "They could be a threat to Julia, to all of us." The air thickened with disbelief and fear. That sense of safety they'd felt moments before evaporating into anxious murmurs. Julia leaned against the wall, blinking back tears, her knife-like tension now mixed with the dread in the room. "Maybe I should just leave," she murmured, her voice barely audible but ripe with hopelessness. "No." Emma reached out, squeezing Julia's hand tightly. "We won't let anyone take you away again. Not now. Not ever." Mike's brow furrowed, a new resolve masking his earlier uncertainty. "Carly, do you know who they were?" Carly shook her head, a tremor in her voice. "No, but they mentioned some names. I didn't understand everything, but one sounded like..." She hesitated, the name on her lips almost a weight too heavy to bear. "Like what?" Emma pressed, every instinct telling her to dig deeper into this revelation. "Like your last name, Emma," Carly blurted cautiously, a shadow of fear passing over her features. Silence engulfed the group, the implications hanging so thick it felt suffocating. Emma's last name had connections, a legacy that could reach into the past, and now into the present. "What does that mean?" Mike asked, incredulity etched on his face, looking between Emma and Carly. "I don't know," Carly replied, her own confusion evident. "But if they're looking for Julia, they could be connected to you, Emma. Something about a family who lost their child in a similar way years ago. Could be bad, really bad." Julia's face turned pale, her hands trembling. "I can't be connected to anyone if they want me," she whispered, eyes gleaming with fresh tears. Emma felt her heart break for the girl standing next to her. "We'll protect you," she insisted fiercely, a fire igniting within her. "We'll figure it out together. But we need to know more." In that moment another knock echoed through the house. Emma's stomach twisted. Who else could be looking for them? What more was at stake? She knew now more than ever that this was only the beginning as the door creaked open again. The air felt electric with the promise of revelations and dangers yet to come. Who would walk through that door? And how would the weight of the past shape their future? Emma's heart raced as she braced herself for whatever or whoever was about to step into their lives. The door swung wider, and light spilled into the dim room, illuminating the worried faces around her. A familiar silhouette emerged, one that was both expected and feared. "Mr. Thompson?" Emma gasped, recognition flooding her. The school principal stood at the threshold, his expression serious and his eyes scanning the room. "I need to speak with you. All of you," he stated, stepping inside with a measured urgency. "It's about Julia." "What do you know?" Mike confronted him, protective instincts driving his tone. "What is happening?" "I can't discuss everything here," he replied, glancing back at the door as if ensuring no one else was listening. "But we're running out of time. You need to understand that Julia is being targeted, and it's serious." "Targeted?" Julia's voice cracked, her vulnerability more pronounced with every troubling word. She moved away slightly, distancing herself. "Please let us not panic," Mr. Thompson urged, raising his hands in a placating gesture. "Can we talk somewhere private?" Emma exchanged a glance with Carly and Mike. She could feel the weight of the moment, the urgency settling over them like a heavy blanket. "Let us go out back," she suggested, leading the way toward the small patio behind the house. The cool evening air felt clearer, almost like it might provide a breath of hope. Once outside, the tension lingered like a thick fog. Mr. Thompson leaned against the porch railing, clearly struggling with how to share the weight of his knowledge. I learned about a group people with connections to the past, he began, his voice low. They're linked to a tragedy involving children. Julia's case is bringing unwanted attention. Emma felt the world shift beneath her. What do you mean attention? What do they want? We believe they think Julia has information related to someone who went missing, Mr. Thompson explained, his gaze steady yet saddened. A child that disappeared years ago with historical ties to your family, Emma. The name hung in the air like a ghost. Emma's mind raced, trying to piece together the fragments of history. Are you saying my family? She stammered. Not your immediate family, but those connected to you, yes. It's a legacy of loss intertwined with desperation, he confirmed, looking at each of them in turn. Why would they think Julia knows anything? Mike asked, anger creeping into his voice. Because she might, Mr. Thompson responded, a hesitation evident in his tone. Julia has an uncanny resemblance to the last known picture of that girl. It's nearly identical. They might think she is the key. The blood drained from Emma's face as she turned to Julia, whose expression was a mix of fear and determination. But I don't know anything. Julia trembled, her eyes wide. I can't be a key. Emma rushed to comfort her, wrapping her arms around Julia's shoulders. We're going to find out the truth together. No matter what it takes, she vowed, her heart swelling with fierce loyalty. Time is against us, Mr. Thompson said, glancing nervously at the house behind them. I need you all to trust me. We have to prepare for what's coming. Someone is looking for Julia, and we must stay ahead of them. Emma felt a wave of determination crash over her. She knew they had to act before the shadows of the past threatened to consume them. What do we have to do? She asked fiercely. First, we need to gather information, people who remember. Places connected to that child. We have to learn the truth before it finds us. As they stood huddled together, the wind whispered around them, carrying the weight of old secrets. A shiver ran down Emma's spine. The night was thick with uncertainty, but one thing was clear. They wouldn't stand alone. And as the darkness settled in, they realized this fight was no longer just about protecting Julia. It was about the truth hidden in the shadows of their past. What would they uncover, and at what cost? The night's secrets loomed heavy, and they had only begun to scratch the surface. The exhibition loomed like a storm cloud, but Emma had never felt stronger. The gallery pulsed with life as townsfolk filtered in, their murmurs rising with anticipation. She stood beside Mike, her heart racing, fingers entwined with his. He felt warm against the cool air, and for a moment she didn't want to think about Julia or the past they were together, facing the unknown. As people gathered around Mike's artwork, their expressions shifted from curious to awed. Emma watched, tears of pride welling in her eyes. This was him, this was Mike. His soul poured onto the canvas, whispering secrets of love, loss, and hope. But veteran shadows still lurked on the edges. Julia's looming presence weighed heavily in Emma's thoughts, the knowledge of the past thundering against the echoes of newfound hope. The room vibrated with applause, drowning her worries momentarily as Mike's art came alive. Radiating stories spun with light and color. Look, Mom! Jake exclaimed, bounding up to her. His eyes sparkled with excitement like the stars above. Dad's amazing. Yes, he really is, Emma whispered, wrapping her arms around him. She felt an overwhelming surge of love swell in her chest. Jake's innocence grounded her, a tether to the future they were building. As Jake rushed back to Mike, Emma spotted Julia standing alone at the edge of the excitement, her gaze distant and uncertain. For a heartbeat, Emma felt the distance between her and Julia, how closely their lives intertwined, yet how far apart they still stood. It was a collision of past and present, and it was haunting. Emma. Julia's hesitant voice broke through her thoughts. I need to talk to you. Despite the pulse of tension, Emma nodded. Okay, she said, guiding Julia to a quieter corner. The crowd hummed behind them, filling the gallery with life. What did you want to say? I don't want to ruin this for you, Julia said, her voice soft but steady. I need you to know how much I admire what you and Mike have. But I'm scared. I'm scared of the connections that are drawing the shadows closer. Emma's heart softened at her vulnerability. We're in this together, Julia. This isn't about you being a burden. It's about finding out what's true. She took a deep breath, the weight of their shared history heavy in the air. We can find a way forward. I need to tell you something that might help, Julia insisted, her face resolute but trembling. My past, I think it can help guide us. There are answers hidden in it if we choose to confront them. Emma searched her eyes, desperately wanting to understand. Then let us start now. Whatever it takes. Julia's warmth returned in her smile. Thank you. Just promise me you won't push me away. Promise. Emma's response came from the heart. As they stepped back into the swirling sea of chatter, a sense of unity knitted between them, a fragile bond woven from pain and strength. The applause grew louder, pulling them back into the moment. Mike stood radiant in the spotlight of admiration, and as he caught her eye, a flood of love washed over them. It didn't matter what had been or what was still left to uncover. They were in it together, ready for whatever came next. The exhibition blossomed into an evening filled with laughter and heartfelt connections. Neighbors who once regarded them with pity now surrounded Mike with admiration and respect. Emma felt a delicate transformation ripple outwards, igniting whispers of acceptance among the crowd. Together, they had lifted the invisible weight of stigma that had pressed down upon them for so long. When everything seemed to settle, and the joy in the air was palpable, a familiar voice cut through the good cheer. Mike, a newcomer, called out. Emma turned, her stomach twisting as she recognized the figure, a man from the past, one who shaped both her and Mike's childhood in ways they had yet to comprehend. Tommy? Mike asked, confusion painting his features. Why are you here? Had to see for myself, Tommy replied, a hint of nostalgia in his tone. I heard whispers someone was finally speaking out, and I knew who had to be behind it. The moment was electric with unspoken histories. Emma watched as the old friends embraced, their surprise turning into something deeper, reconciliation, perhaps. I'm proud of you, man, Tommy continued. You have people believing in you now. I've lost family too, but I've learned something. We can rise from the ashes together. Just hold on. Mike's eyes glimmered, the past merging with the present in a beautiful tapestry of connection. Thanks, Tommy. It means the world. As they stood together amidst a newfound circle of acceptance, Emma felt James slip his small hand into hers. She looked down at him, the embodiment of innocence and hope. We're a family, Jake said, a bright smile lighting up his face. And we'll figure it all out. In that moment, Emma realized something profound, that love transcended every hardship, every challenge, repurposing their story from one of despair into one of unwavering unity. Together, they would embrace the journey ahead, even with shadows lurking back, ready to uncover truths that lay ahead. They weren't perfect and life was far from easy, but as long as they faced it side by side, they would never be alone. Let us go celebrate, Mike announced, gripping Emma's hand tightly. With hearts full of hope and strength, they stepped forward together into the warm light of the future. Now that you've read this truly uplifting ending, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover these heartfelt tales. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative journey. This is the moment to show your support.